What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back for another, well, I was going to say another, but it's the first episode of player ratings for the season. The player ratings are back. And you know, after a win like that, we love bringing you these kind of videos. We love analysing. It's a bit different when we lose, but I think that it was great. Yeah, it's great to have football back, and it's great to have a performance like that to talk about, isn't it?
Definitely. What a win. What a way to start the season. All of a sudden, the optimism is back amongst the Spurs fan base. So let's see how long we can keep it up for. But
still need signings.
Start, definitely.
But let's get straight into it, and let's start off with Hugo Lloris. We gave him a 7. And in terms of Hugo Lloris's performance, I thought it was a fairly, as games against Man City go, that was a fairly quiet day for him. I thought that he dealt with the majority that came his way. I think the only time he was really forced into like a proper save was towards the end with Kevin De Bruyne. He did well with kind of his crossing, and I thought his distribution looked a bit better yesterday as well.
Yeah, I felt he got very lucky at the beginning of the game because he came out for that one punch and he missed it, and Fernandinho had a open goal. He got very lucky with that, which went wide. But after that, it was a calm, assured performance from Hugo, and he only had that one save to make. Although, when I was watching that save back, he for some reason decided to punch it. And he definitely should have palmed it away, because punches in those positions can be very volatile. So I thought I was a bit odd. But other than that, like all the other saves, they were pretty routine, and he had a pretty solid game.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on to Japhet Tanganga, we gave him a 9. For me, my man the match yesterday, definitely in terms of Japhet. I thought he just controlled that right-hand side of the pitch so well, so aggressive. Sterling and Moura and Grealish hardly had a sniff pretty much all game. He was getting so tight to them, and so every time either of them got on the ball, he was there within a flash, and he just proved yesterday how if he can keep that level of performance up, he can be our right back. And look, I'm not saying he should be our right back, and I still think that we should sign someone, but if he can keep up those levels of performance, I would have no problems with him at right back.
Yeah, I thought he was incredible throughout the game. To be that assured, that aggressive against two of the best wide players or best attacking players in the Premier League just goes to show how much confidence and how much he wants this. I think it goes to show how much he wants to be part of the Tottenham team. There were rumours that he was going to go out alone, but he was the one who wanted to stay at Tottenham. He didn't want to go out on loan. He not even to a Championship club or a Premier League club. He wanted to be at Tottenham and fighting for his space. And that was a performance of a guy who had a point to prove. And I thought defensively he was absolutely astonishing. I bet you he's still tailgating Sterling now, probably on his way home. I reckon he's probably still marking Sterling and Grealish as we speak. Honestly, he was taking no shit throughout the whole game. He set the tone a couple times in the early minutes with a couple of early niggling fouls on Sterling and Grealish, letting him know what game they were kind of in for. And I think especially Sterling, who got hauled off after 70 minutes or so, I thought he just couldn't get away from him. And you got to give Tanganga all the credit in the world. I thought he was absolutely brilliant. And and it was more of a lopsided system, so he kind of tucked into a 3, so it didn't have to go forward too much. But a couple of times he did find space and he did look to attack. But I think, look, in terms of being a top-class right-back in the modern game where you need to be able to be very good going forward, well, I still have a few question marks on that front. But in terms of being a right-back in a game like this where he has a lot of defending to do, I got no issue with that at all, and I think he's more than up to it, as we can see. Yeah,
definitely. Moving on to Davidson Sanchez, we gave him an 8, and you got to say credit where credit's due, because I thought he was brilliant. So many last gasp tackles in there, sliding tackles. He was aggressive as well. He was good in the air, winning 2 of his aerial duels, and I think that it was just a commanding display, not just from him, but from his partner, who we'll get into in a minute. I thought both of them just worked really well as a pair together, and look, I think that we can be mistaken in saying like, oh, we don't need another centre-back now, but we definitely still do need another centre-back, and I still don't want to trust these two going into the season.
Yeah, but, there was absolutely brilliant display. And there was one moment, obviously, from the free kick, which City took a quick, clever free kick, and then Ferran Torres kind of got away from him, and he should have scored. We got a bit lucky with that one, but other than that, he was pretty much faultless throughout the game. I thought him and Tanganga linked up well in the defence, while marshalling that right-hand side really, really effectively. He seemed a bit more confident, a bit more assured on the ball as well, which I liked. And he wasn't afraid to play a long pass, and the quality was a bit better than we've seen previously from Sanchez. So I was very, very happy with his display, and I can't fault it.
Yeah, and he just, him and his partner, they just threw themselves at everything, didn't they?
Yeah, great blocks.
Which brings us on to Eric Dyer. We also gave him an 8. There's been at the end of the day, there's been question marks about him and Sanchez for so long now, and warranted questions. You know what I mean? But you can't fault them. You can't fault them after yesterday in terms of an isolated match. And Eric Dyer, he put in his standard yearly good display against Man City once again. I thought he was very commanding, like Davidson Sanchez, threw himself at everything. And yeah, great display. Can't fault him.
Yeah, I thought he was absolutely brilliant. They couldn't get past him, apart from that one moment again. I've said that 3 times now, but there was a clearance in the first half that fell to Cancelo, and he got very lucky with that one because it went just wide. Luckily, I know there was another miss, but other than that, again, he was faultless, and he made some really impressive blocks and some good tackles. Didn't have as much defending to do because he had a lot of cover from the midfield, more than usual. So that was very, very positive from that sense. So great stuff from Eric Dyer, and hopefully we'll see more of that.
Definitely. Let's move on to Sergio Reguilón. He played obviously at left back. We gave him an 8. I thought it was a really, really good display from Reguilón. Definitely one of his better displays in a Spurs shirt. And when you're comparing his second half of the season, it's night and day to what he showed yesterday. I think that he didn't get forward as much as like he would have liked and how he does like. There were a couple of moments when he did get forward and played pretty well and was getting in some good opportunities and some good moments. But his defensive display, I think that's probably the best defensive display we've seen from Sergio Reguilón in a Spurs shirt. Again, like Sanchez and Dyer, he was throwing himself at everything. And really, really good display and very impressive against a strong Man City team, or against a Man City team that's strong but not at their strongest.
Well, I think Spurs had 10 interceptions throughout the game, and Reguilón accounted for 4 of them.
Wow.
So I think he was really impressive from that aspect. He was a big part of why we were able to steal the ball so often from the Man City back, midfield when they were kind of passing the ball around. He was always on the front foot looking for an opportunity to get in front of his marker. As you say, Mahrez pretty much didn't have anything all game. Reguilón marshalled him pretty well. Cancelo was also giving him a bit of trouble, but he made easy work of it. And I thought when he was kind of given more license to go forward than Tanganga was, I agree with you, didn't see it enough, but I think he was kind of more, his average position was a lot higher than Tanganga's was. You saw him around the halfway line a lot more than you did Tanganga. So I think it'll be a feature maybe against not as talented sides for Reguilón to be a lot further forward than we saw him against City, but against City he did hang back a bit, but again, really strong display.
Ollie Skipp, we gave him a 7. First game back after his obviously very successful loan spell at Norwich, and everyone in the Spurs fan base very excited to see what he can bring. Some people were saying maybe this Man City game might be come a bit too soon for him, but I think maybe the early exchanges of the game did suggest that. But I think he grew into the game massively, and I think he really did put a commanding display in there in the middle of the park. Yes, there were a few times he got dribbled past and what have you, but I think as he was growing into the game, he had more authority and he let kind of players around him strut their stuff. So I think very good display from Skippy.
Well, that was the beauty of having him next to Højbjerg. If one got dribbled past, it was more often than not the other guy was there, and that's what gave us such a solid base. And yes, maybe Skipp up against Fernandinho and Gundogan and Grealish in the middle there. It was always going to be difficult for him, especially early doors. At one moment where Grealish was dribbling past 2-3 players and went over just outside the box, and nearly thought it might have been a penalty. And that was Skipp with the foul there. You're thinking, is Skipp in for a long afternoon? But I think once after those early mishaps, I thought he really was not necessarily. I think he started to shine a bit. The main thing for me though is all he had to do was help Højbjerg marshal the back line, help him protect the back four, and exactly what he did. He didn't have to be amazing to help the team do his job basically. And I thought he was absolutely brilliant at what he was able to do. And I thought especially in the second half, I thought he was really able to get near to Fernandinho and Gundogan, get his foot on the ball, get a few tackles in, and I thought it worked really well in that solid base. So, and interestingly enough, he was more central one compared to Højbjerg, where you'd think maybe Skipp would be on the right and Højbjerg be central, but we'll get into Pierre in a minute. But it was interesting, the choice from Nuno, and I think it worked.
Yeah, I think so. And let's get on to Pierre now. We'll give him an 8. In terms of his performance, I thought it was a brilliant display. Back at it again. And when you cast your mind back to last season, and the pure effort, determination, mentality that he shows on the pitch. He was sometimes last season one of the only ones that was showing that mentality and determination. But yesterday, it was 11 Højbjergs on the pitch in terms of mentality. And that's exactly what we've been calling to see for ages, really, for ages. But in terms of his performance alone, I thought that the way him and Skipp worked was really well, because I think every time Skipp was kind of taking a step back, Højbjerg would push on and press, and his pressing game was brilliant. His play in the transition as well, starting attacks. So I think that Højbjerg was absolutely brilliant yesterday.
Yeah, and he did a great job on that right-hand side in the right-hand central position, helping out Tanganga and freeing up Lucas Moura as well to get a lot further forward. And we saw that Højbjerg a number of times was in space down that right-hand side, and he was able to play a quick pass to Lucas or drive into the space himself. The number of times he was able to make some tackles as well in the central area was really, really impressive. And I thought he carried on more in the vein of his Euros performance than I would say to the early days of his Spurs career, when he was a lot deeper, wasn't he? A lot more controlled defensive midfielder. He was much more of an all-action midfielder, kind of going back and forward in this kind of display. Maybe we're going to see more of that. You saw how many chances created, how many assists he got in the Euros. So maybe Nuno's thinking he has a lot more to give going forward than he was given credit for last season. So I'm excited to see that element to his game. But I thought defensively he teamed up with Skipp and Dele really, really effectively as well. So really great start to the season by Pierre.
Definitely. Dele Alli, we gave him a 7, and also a really good start to the season for Dele Alli. The most accomplished, probably, Dele Alli display we've seen in a long time. He didn't play in his usual role, tucked right up next to the striker, more as like a second striker. He played very deep in the midfield. He was full of constant running, constant energy, hassling the opponents, pressing the opponents, and I think when Dele is in this kind of mood, this is what we like to see. This is what we like to see from Dele Alli. And people were saying, oh, is Dele ever going to get it back again? I think this was definitely steps in the right direction.
Yeah, he seems to be reinventing himself as a player who can be more combative in the central area, be more part, not exactly having a free role anymore in the attacking positions, but actually making a difference when it comes to pressing and when it comes to working for the team and sacrifice. He showed that element to the game today. Maybe, in different games he might have to show a different side to himself. But at least he showed yesterday that when it comes to Man City and these kind of games where he needs to dig in and graft and help the team out, he was able to do that, and he was able to do that really effectively. The only thing I would say is with a player of Dele's quality, knowing what he can do on the ball, it was a bit of a shame not to see as much as that from him. But clearly he was tasked with a bit of a different role, and I thought the role he did play, he played very, very effectively, and I thought he worked very well in the middle three actually. So very happy with him.
Pure energy and the amount of running that he did was second to none. It really was.
Yeah, it was great, and it was great, but it was a bit like how do I describe it? It's a bit like having Eriksen do that role and do it well, but it's like I would like to see him still have a shot or like having a
I understand that, but
so you know what I mean.
Against the Man City though, it's understandable.
No, I think he did great. I think he did a great job, and I'm very happy with him, and it shows maybe he's maturing. I'm hoping.
Yeah. Next up, Steven Bergwijn, who played on the left-hand side of a front three. I thought he was very good, Steven Bergwijn. We gave him an 8, obviously, as you can see. I thought he just non-stop hassling the Man City defence, non-stop running, non-stop energy. Yes, he probably should have scored with that chance to make it 2-0, and, at that point, could have been game done, really. But I think that he worked so hard for the team, and I think that he put in very similar performances the first half of last season, and he just couldn't carry it on throughout the majority of the season. That assist for Heung-Min-Son's goal, I mean, yeah, Lucas Moura made it, but the way he kind of just darted through the centre of the pitch and then just squared it to Sonny with an inch perfect ball, I thought was brilliant. And yeah, he just provided positively to the team pretty much all the time he was on the pitch.
Yeah, and I think the way he was able to carry the ball was very impressive. He did it a number of times, a bit like similar to Lucas, but he did it more into space, and he was hard to catch. And a few times he was just in. They played it into Bergwijn, and he was off, and City couldn't get near him. One of the moments was for the goal where he just, as you say, went right through the heart of the City team, and he was able to create the opening for Son to cut inside and score. So I thought I was very, very encouraged from what I saw from Steven Bergwijn. and seems to be a lot more confident and a lot happier with the way the current system working, maybe playing a lot higher up the pitch compared to how he was doing under Jose, where he was maybe henned back sometimes in the left wing back area a lot of the time. So I think he's a lot happier, a lot at home there, and if he would have scored the goal, he would have capped off a great display. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. I think that unfortunately for him, for that chance, he don't know why he didn't take it on his right foot. Should have just taken it on the instep and curled it in. Unfortunately, he went with his left. I don't know whether he just wanted to make sure he 100% took it away from the defender or not. But I think in that instance, I don't know if it was a bad touch or something, but he didn't. I don't think he took it right. But hopefully, Bergwijn will be amongst the goals sooner rather than later. And again, great display from him.
If he keeps playing like that, I have no qualms about him. I think the goals will come for sure. HeungMin Son, we gave him an 8. Played in the number 9 role. And I thought he was very good. He was very good. Obviously, he got his goal. But the thing is with HeungMin Son, he was very good and he worked so hard for the team non-stop. He was literally going like an Energizer bunny, one of those Duracell bunnies. He was literally non-stop. But what I want to say about HeungMin Son, I think that he could have been a bit more clinical. I think he could have been a bit more clinical yesterday and probably could have had more than one goal. But the goal he did have, obviously, great movement and a great finish. And that's his kind of standard goal against Man City at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium every single year. But look, you can't fault Sonny. You can't fault Sonny for his performance yesterday.
They don't know how to stop him, do they, Man City? They do not know how to stop him. He's got so many goals against them. All come to think of it, a lot of them have been on his left foot as well. All seem to be with his left foot when I think about it. And you've got to say that...
They say water is wet and Sonny scores against Man City.
Exactly. That's pretty much how it is at the moment. Every time. I think only... Leicester maybe he scored more against. I think that's it. Apparently, Man City is the best team he scored against. As you say, I wouldn't say clinical is the right word, but I think in other games where Son gets in tight angles, he would just go for goal, and he would, even if it forces a save out of the keeper.
Maybe hesitant. Maybe he was a bit too hesitant.
Hesitant's the right word, because I don't think he had a lot of good chances, but he had a lot of chances to really drive a goal and go for goal.
Taking too many touches and stuff like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, and he was cutting back and he was going for the safe option, and that's not Sonny. Usually, if he's got no options with him, he'll just go for a shot, and if it's a save, then it's a save, and he can win a corner, and it's not necessarily like there's a high chance it's going to go in, but at least he'll force the keeper into action. And a few times yesterday he had the opportunity to do that, and it wasn't like Sonny of old. He was cutting back and he was going for the safe option, which was weird. But I think as the game grew on, he was taking more shots from outside the box. There was one moment, wasn't there, where he should have definitely had a corner, and the referee gave a goal.
He was going mad.
That was ridiculous. It was a very clear corner. He had a few of those options, shots from outside the box. You know how clinical he can be from those ranges, and obviously he was slipping when he got the goal, and he still managed to get into the corner. Great finish. And I think if Kane leaves, he seems to be someone who, I don't know, by the way he just conducts himself at the moment, he seems to want to be that talisman. He seems to be the one who wants to be the main man now. He seems to want that responsibility.
Well, he's the heir to the throne, isn't he?
He is. So, I think he wants to take on that responsibility of being the star man. And I'm looking forward to that if that does happen.
All right, and last of the starting 11 was Lucas Moura. We gave him a 9. I talk about HeungMin Son being a Duracell bunny. This guy, bloody hell, the guy just doesn't stop. I mean, he was a live wire throughout the whole game, the absolute whole game. You give this man ball to feet and he'll take on men successfully, and he did that time and time and time again yesterday. And it's not only the way he beats the men, it's his clever little touches on the ball as well that really bring us on our way. The goal being a case in point. The way he hits that over his head to find Steven Bergwijn and set Steven Bergwijn on his way to get us that goal. Absolutely brilliant. And you got to say, this is Lucas Moura. I mean, he really is. From probably when he first started in that number 10 position against Everton, he's just got better and better in a Spurs shirt.
Yeah, and he was actually, despite playing on the right-hand side, he was actually quite central in his average position. You can see in the maps and stuff. And I think that works for him. His dribbling ability was absolutely frightening at times. I think Man City, he was a nuisance for them all game. He gave them no end of trouble. Every time, pretty much, Spurs needed someone to relieve the pressure, they just gave it to Lucas Moura, and he was just dribbled up the pitch, dribbled past 2-3 players, and created space. Again, I do call for him to improve his end product, what's on the end of those dribbles, but I can't fault the role he did for the team on Sunday.
Big game player, isn't he?
Unbelievable every time. You know, think back to the Carling Cup final. He was the only one trying to make something happen, doing something, and unfortunately he did get taken off. But I think Lucas Moura showed his qualities and what he's good at on Sunday, and that was a phenomenal performance. And I reckon the Man City defenders are still going to have nightmares about him for a few days.
Do you reckon they're literally just crying in their beds about Lucas Moura last night? But yeah, look, that's the starting 11. I mean, we're not going to give the subs any rating because they didn't have enough time, but Lo Celso came on for Bergwijn on 77th minute.
Yeah, few crunching challenges from him.
Yeah. Doherty came on for Tanganga about the 83rd minute, and then 90th minute Romero came on for Højbjerg. So not much of note. Have you got any notes on them?
100 passing completion rate for Romero. 100%.
How many? One?
I think 2 passes. What a player. 100% aerial duels, 1 clean sheet on his debut. What a defender. Revolutionised the defence.
He's revolutionised us already.
He does exactly what everyone thought he was going to do. But other than that, yeah, Doherty did okay actually when he came on, but obviously he didn't have that much time. And I thought Lo Celso combated well actually when he came on. A few really nice crunching tackles and helped us in the corner kind of when at the end of the game to help see it out, so that was good. But other than that, yeah, nothing to say really on the subs.
Nuno, we gave him a 9 on his first competitive game in charge. What you got to say about Nuno is that before the game started and everyone saw the lineup, everyone was worried about having Dyer and Sanchez there. Everyone was worried. I think that people were even questioning Dele Alli being there instead of a Giovanni Lo Celso. I know we put him in the predicted lineup. But what you got to say is it was absolutely spot on. And the way he's kind of got the team all singing off the same hymn sheet, all kind of pushing in the same direction, all fighting for the badge. I think that's the first game I've seen us, like, literally every single man on the pitch fight for the badge for a long time. I can't remember the last time we've all been in unison like that. And it felt like I know there were individual performances out there, but it was more about the team and how they were together and how defensively they were and how they started pressing from the front. I mean, everything was on point yesterday, and you got to really say to Nuno, tactically was unbelievable yesterday, and the way he's got all the players on side so quickly as well. So you got to give massive credit to him.
Yeah, to get a performance like that against a team like City so quickly in your first ever game was mightily impressive. The way we were so organised in the back line, we looked so watertight at the end of the game. We didn't look like conceding pretty much the whole second half. We were super organised at the back. The way he's effectively got the pressing game going in such a short space of time, how effective. Also, not only that, but also introducing a new era of player. How introducing Skipp, introducing Tanganga in the first game of the season against Man City. And other managers wouldn't have risked it, but he had the confidence in them to put them in such a big game, and it worked. It paid off for him. And I think tactically as well, he knew how Man City were going to play, and he didn't let them play their game. And he made sure when we got the ball, we weren't in a position to hurt them. And he made sure Lucas, Son, Bergwijn were all there in position, ready to pounce, and pounce they did. And I thought tactically he got it absolutely spot on. So couldn't have gone too much better for Nuno in his first game. I would say, first 15 minutes, we were very lucky not to be behind. So he's got to look at that. And but other than that, I think it was a near perfect display from what we needed. And Nuno was very similar to the displays Wolves had against Man City when they've beaten them in the past. Under Nuno, and I think he's brought that to Spurs in those kind of games. So I'm very, very impressed, very happy with that first game. I'm so happy for him as well. You saw that smile at the end of the game, being welcomed from the Spurs fans. He couldn't have ingratiated himself to the Spurs fans any better than that performance. So very happy for him, very happy for the team he's picked, and let's hope we go from strength to strength. It's very early days. So
it seems right though with Nuno.
It does. There does seem something about it that seems to click, and I'm hoping that it's not just a purple patch or anything, or a new manager bounce or anything like that. I'm hoping it's something sustainable. We'll have to wait and see, but early signs are promising, and I'm happy with what I'm seeing at the moment.
And the way how fit he's got them all so quickly as well, just unbelievable.
Incredible.
It's like night and day. I mean, not one game last season were we as this competitive all the way through a game. Not once. I can't remember the whole of last season. And when Jose Mourinho first came in, I mean, it's not that yes, all right, fine. People would have had a few problems with the kind of appointment. People would have liked the appointment. That's not what I'm talking about. But it never felt as right having Jose as our manager as it does with Nuno right now.
Yeah, and that's very true. And there was always going to be an element to Mourinho where people still hold those feelings from his time at Chelsea, and something never really clicked, did it, with Jose? And even when we were winning, people was like, yeah, but we're sitting back. Like, there was always complaints about something.
Yeah.
At the moment, things seem unified and everyone seems on the same page. And yesterday, what we saw yesterday was something we haven't seen since Poch, and that is what we want to carry on doing. That's what we want to build towards. And it might still take some time, you know, and even though it's opening day of the season and winning against Man City, you think, okay, it's only upwards from here. I'm sure there'll be bumps in the road, but it's a perfect start, and hoping for more days like this.
All right, so there you have it. That is our first player ratings of the season as Tottenham beat Manchester City by 1-0 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let me know your player ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.